As today's special bonus episode of Playing Above the Line is being recorded and released in real time, the world is facing some unprecedented challenges as it relates to the spread of COVID-19, which is also known as coronavirus. Welcome to Playing Above the Line, where we interview entrepreneurs, business owners, and community activists to get their thoughts and perspectives on leadership. Playing Above the Line is sponsored by Aviso Group, a business consulting and accounting firm focused on preparing clients for the future through innovation and positive growth. Welcome to a special COVID-19 edition of Playing Above the Line. I'm Alan, your host, and as we have done the past several episodes, we are kind of diverging from our typical format in talking about leadership and entrepreneurship and talking about how this COVID-19 crisis has really impacted our clients, number one, but also, everyone in some sort of fashion. So today is no different, and I have as my guest today David Worthington, and he, along with his husband Eric, own the Magnolia Springs Bed and Breakfast. And David, thank you for joining us. I appreciate it.
It's my pleasure to be here.
So, I know that, we're probably going to kind of talk about some things that aren't very pleasant because you guys are in the hospitality industry, and obviously with the shutdown of the beaches and the stay-at-home orders and that kind of thing that have been issued, your guys' business has been impacted greatly, I would imagine.
Greatly. It started like a avalanche, I would say.
Yeah.
On one day, we had one or two cancellations, and this was on a Thursday prior to a full house weekend. All those folks came in. We felt like business was normal, but as soon as those folks left, it was an avalanche, and then everything from there on out just completely canceled.
So did you, so really it was very little warning, right?
There was zero warning.
Yeah.
It went from record-breaking year to nothing, literally overnight.
Yeah. We've talked to the owner of Fish River Grill an episode or two ago, and he kind of gave us some insight into how the shutdown and the virus has affected the restaurant industry. But is it the same with your business? Because I know that with social distancing and that kind of thing, folks can't congregate in restaurants, but is there the travel ban notwithstanding, is there any option for folks to come and stay at Magnolia Springs Bed and Breakfast at this point, or not, there's really not?
We decided to close simply because if there's nowhere to eat and there's no attractions open, there's no reason for people to travel. And we're not a business clientele type of establishment, so there was no reason.
The directives to close didn't directly necessarily state that you had to close, but because of the other, like you said, restaurants and attractions and the beach, there was really, even though you probably could take guests, there's no reason for anybody really to come to this part of the country because there's nothing to do, right?
That is correct.
Yeah.
They have no drive to travel, and they fear travel.
Yeah.
So, and I fear them coming in the house, quite frankly.
Well, yeah,
that's another side of it. Do I really want anybody right now while it's spreading the way it is?
Yeah. No, I understand. So, what's the outlook now as far as, I know that you are in contact with the chambers of commerce around this area, and a lot has been going on as far as, keeping you guys informed. But so what's the outlook as far as where we go from here? As we're recording this, it's April the 20th. I've heard rumblings that maybe May 1st they're going to open the beaches up. What do you have any insight into kind of what that's going to look like?
My understanding of getting going, and that is, of course, if Kay Ivey, the governor, decides to open them, that it would be more of a phase opening, that the first couple of weeks you don't get to really go down there and hang out on the beach with chairs and tents and that kind of thing. You can go walking, you can go fishing. It's not a congregating, hang out on the beach thing, and that would go for the first couple of weeks. And then they would open it more to taking your chairs and tents and really congregating and hanging out, of course, in groups of less than 10. And there will be all kinds of different restrictions that we're not used to that will be the new normal for a while.
Right.
And I still feel the same until restaurants and attractions and the beach are all open to our traveling guests. There's really not a real need for guests to want to travel here. It can't be that just restaurants open or just the beach is open. It's going to have to be an across-the-board thing. So everybody has a place to eat, something to do, and somewhere to be.
Well, a place like the Gulf Coast of Alabama that relies heavily on tourism, and this has hit this area particularly hard, and maybe more so than others.
More so.
Yeah.
But on the other side, when you look to what's coming down the road, we have a lot of things going for us. One, the human condition of wanting to travel and explore, that will never go away.
Right.
When we get unleashed, I'm afraid as quickly as it dropped off, it's going to ramp back up. Me being a small business is not as hard because we don't have staff, but to go from little to no staff and then need everything all at once at the same time everybody else does, that's going to have its challenges as well. But that's the way I feel it's going to be. on top of the human drive, we're a drive-in destination. And people are not going to want to get in a tin can and fly hours. They're going to want to get in their car for a short drive and go escape. And me being a small property with only 5 rooms for a couple to come and escape, that's what they're going to be looking for. Yeah. So I'm really excited about what the future holds. As I keep saying, this too is going to pass. And when it does, it's going to come back with a vengeance.
Yeah. Well, you sound like you kind of subscribe to my theory, and I've said it before, but this really doesn't feel like a normal economic downturn to me because it was forced, right? I mean, it was forced by
Absolutely.
This virus. And so I think you're right. I mean, I think the fact that folks have been forced to stay at home and social distance for so many weeks, that as soon as they get the green light to safely go, they're going to want to spend their disposable dollars somewhere doing something, traveling, and maybe that disposable income might not be quite as great as it was before, but those dollars are still going to be out there. I think
it will quickly come back.
Yeah.
When everybody goes back to work, it will quickly come back.
Yeah.
And when we look at what China has been through, when they gave the green light that you could go outside, it was pandemonium. Right. You go from complete social distancing, which I like to call physical distancing, because we're not socially separated.
That's true.
We're just physically separated. That need to be together. I mean, they were just shoulder to shoulder in the parks. I mean, packed them.
Yeah.
Look at what happened on Jacksonville's beach when they opened that. And, we all look at them going, like, do y'all not realize this is not social distancing? What are you people doing over there? Yeah. It's the human, we're pent up. And when they release us, it's going to be the opposite.
You're right. I thought the same thing when I saw that picture of Jacksonville Beach. I mean, there were people everywhere. I've never seen anything like it. They weren't sitting. They were just...
There wasn't a 10-foot space between one person for as far as the camera could see.
They're not. I mean, they were all walking. They weren't just sitting and hanging out like you said. But I mean, there was no way that they were 6 feet apart, much less 2 or 3 feet apart. So, but we are practicing, David, here. So good social distancing. You and I are probably 8 feet apart at this point, and so yes. We are trying to be true to that. So, well, that's good. So tell me, I know that obviously, I mean, this has had an impact on your life and your business. But before we started recording, you were talking about the fact that you were going to be positive. I mean, there's really no other option other than to try to find the positives in the situation. So, I mean, what has that looked like for you over the past few weeks? I mean, where have you kind of found those glimmers of hope and joy as you've kind of talked through and worked through the situation?
Alan, I'm an eternal optimist. I learned from a childhood accident when I was 19 that you have a choice in everything in life, and you can either find the silver lining or you can waller in the crap and see where that gets you. So I tend to not want to waller in the crap. Therefore, I've had a much easier go in life, easier on my health, easier on my mind. I have faith that, as I said earlier, this is going to pass, that all of us are in this same boat. And the term together, it's been different for different people, obviously. Yeah. So I don't necessarily say that we are all in this together, but we are all going through struggles that you have got to find the silver lining. So for me, what are silver linings? As I was talking to my mom a couple of days ago, the networking within the chamber and the importance of that chamber membership and all of the chambers together and legislatively talking to our leaders, and everyone's on the same page of what we need to do as small businesses to get this community back up and running. Yeah. As you said earlier, the majority of businesses in Baldwin County are small. Mm-hmm. We don't have big business really here that much. So I just know that with all of that connectivity, with all of that, and the other thing is how we've been through other struggles as a community before. I think in Ivan was where we really learned working together, not just us in this county, but with Mobile as well. That we're all a region that basically does the same thing, and that the more united we are, the quicker we get some help. Yeah.
Well, in adversity, and let's kind of talk about leadership a little bit, because that's something that we really haven't done the last few episodes, because we've been concentrating on the kind of the business side of things, the mechanics of all these stimulus packages. But a lot of times in adversity and strife and when things aren't going well is when you see what kind of a leader a person really is, right? So, no doubt. And I think that we've probably seen examples of good and bad leadership through this whole situation on the national level, maybe, and I'm not pointing fingers, but on the national level, and also the local level. So, can you give us an example or something that's kind of stood out to you as someone who really has kind of risen up and shown that they are leading through this adversity?
Donna was on. She did a little, and I don't know what to call it, but you could on the chamber website, she did a little video.
Donna Watts is what you're talking
about.
Yeah,
Donna Watts with the South Baldwin Chamber. And it was uplifting because, as she said, the day before was when we found out the PPP program was out of money, and that put a downtrodden feeling in a lot of people around here that hadn't gotten any response or help yet. That the next morning when she woke up, she was able to talk to Bradley Byrne and get the news of the second wave of money that hopefully is coming down the pike, and about how silver linings are in everything that we do. You've got to look for those, and there were just several things to her that really made her feel upbeat about the day. That every day, and that's what I do, every day we want to find what we can be positive about and focus on those things, because the negative is always going to be there. Not that you can ignore it, but it's more important to have a mindset of what there are good things for.
Right.
Look, if we hit the ground running every day and we're not in a hospital bed or a nursing home, the rest of the day we can handle people. It's going to be all right.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. Well, and we were talking too before we started recording that, with you and Eric, I mean, running a bed and breakfast, that's really, when you have guests, that's a full-time job, right? When I say full-time, I mean 24/7, because I mean they're sleeping in your house, and you got to feed them and kind of help them on their journey as far as finding things for them to do and making suggestions and that kind of thing. So, but one of the things you said that I think I've heard echoed over and over again as I've talked to different people, and even I've seen it in my own neighborhood, you've kind of been forced to take some time off, but you said that you've enjoyed this time off more than,
let's say, watch what you wish for.
Right.
Yeah, this is the biggest and longest vacation I've had since I opened my doors in '96. So for 24 years, this is the longest I've been able just to relax. So a lot of other innkeepers, when I've talked to them, have done big project and worked on the house and that kind of thing. And I just decided, no, I'm just going to sit and relax and watch some TV and really do nothing for a few weeks.
Yeah.
It's been glorious.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So, as you and Eric kind of look forward, when we come out on the other side of this thing, I mean, what are your hopes for Magnolia Springs Bed and Breakfast as you go forward? I mean, do you have any? I know obviously to keep serving your guests like you always have, with graciousness and you're a great host. I know that for sure. But any big plans for Magnolia Springs going forward?
In the bed and breakfast, what I've been telling my guests as we've dealt with the cancellations and that kind of thing is we know that you're at home taking care of your family and yourselves right now. We're certainly do the same things. But when the time comes for you, when you feel comfortable and safe to get out there and travel again, we're going to be here for you.
Yeah.
No matter what the new norm is and how much more we need to clean and maybe not have you all congregate in the dining room at one time, whatever the new normal is going to be, we're ready and willing to do that, and we'll help you make your vacation memories when that time comes. What I hope for the bed and breakfast is obviously that we ramp up in business as quickly as we turned off. Yeah. And if that happens, then I just think it will.
Yeah. In my opinion, Magnolia Springs, Alabama is one of the most underrated, maybe not underrated by the people who know about it, but I mean it's probably not very well known. When you talk about Gulf Shores and Orange Beach,
Here's the way to word it. Even my guests on a weekly basis, when they see Jesse's jam packed on a weekday, midweek off season, and we're full, go, how in the world, how do y'all do this? And it's very easy. It's consistency in a service level that you don't get anywhere else. We care about you. And you walk around the community and people wave at you, and it's like, it's a Norman Rockwell style of, it's a welcoming from the past that people wish they were still living in.
Yeah.
Or another way to word it, it's like Mayberry, but it's real life.
It really is, and it's one of the neatest places I've ever been to. And Magnolia Springs Bed and Breakfast is beautiful, and I can't say. I mean, I've been there a couple of times and have been able to just kind of walk through and see what you guys have, and man, it's a gorgeous place. And so I kind of hate to tell the secret because I'm afraid that everybody's going to start finding out about.
Oh no, let's tell the secret. I've been trying to tell that secret for 24 years.
I know, but I won't be able to get into Jesse's when I want to go eat and that kind of thing. But anyway, you guys do a great job, and so I do want to thank you for taking some time out to come talk about what I know has been a difficult time, but at the same time, I'm inspired by your outlook and by your attitude, because I think you hit the nail right on the head. We're going to be okay, and you've got to be positive. You can't let this thing get you down. So
no, this too is going to pass.
So if folks want to find out more about Magnolia Springs B&B, where can they go?
That's easy. Our website, magnoliasprings.com. I mean, how good was that?
Very easy. Yep.
When we opened in 96, the internet was just coming out, and I went and got Magnolia Springs as the domain name, knowing that, oh my gosh, we weren't even incorporated then, so nobody else was really thinking forward like that was. So that's it. Just go to magnoliasprings.com with 24 years. Professional development, photo shoots, all that. You can see rooms, you can see the area. We have a calendar, of events. It's a it's almost like a chamber website.
I got you. Well, I can tell you what, do yourself a favor, and whenever this thing gets, whenever we get back to normal, go check out Magnolia Springs, Alabama, and Magnolia Springs B&B, because it is awesome.
Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode, and if you did, be sure to rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes and Spotify. It definitely helps us in the ratings, and it also makes it easier for other folks to find the podcast. As always, a big thanks to producer Carrie Wolf and editor Johnny Gwynn. Playing Above the Line is sponsored by Aviso Group. If you want to know more about who we are and what we do, you can visit our website at avisogroup.com. That's AVIZO group.com. You can also check us out on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. Thanks for listening.